Yeah, I think the keys to making programmatic selling successful on the distributor or broadcaster side, one is the rules or guidelines that you put within your team. Right, compensation is really important. That's been a blocker. I think acknowledgement that it's not a separate team or separate initiative that's off on its own. It really is part and parcel of what the market is asking for. It is a solution that the market is asking for, and understanding and embracing that it's something that you need to be prepared for. I mean, our approach is we're agnostic to whether a buyer wants to go the managed services route or the programmatic route, and so for us, it's a solution that we're prepared for. I think the other big sort of misnomer or fear that's out there amongst a lot of broadcasters is that programmatic has this connotation of race to the bottom, and I think it couldn't be any further from the truth, and I think the race to the bottom is taken from what has happened in the past with digital display. Endless supply, mid-tail, long-tail, and that is not the case for tier one video supply. So broadcasters should feel comfortable about what technology and automation brings. They should love the idea that you can access 10x, 20x the number of advertisers in a programmatic environment than you would in a managed services environment, and it is a wave of the future. And I think that that once they sort of jump in and embrace tech and embrace programmatic as a whole, they'll find that they'll extract a lot more value than they initially thought.
And how, just to give the audience an idea, how much of your inventory do you sell in this fashion?
Well, as a quick reminder, Dish Media is the combination of Dish, satellite, and Sling TV, which is all IP delivered. So our inventory today in programmatic marketplaces includes all of Sling TV. It includes Dish Anywhere, which is our subscriber mobile. When you're not at home, you can still access the Dish service, and Dish set-top box VOD. Right, so we've got a variety of supply sources. Sling is still the majority of that, but a variety of supply sources that are available to the programmatic marketplace, to the DSPs.
And sort of digging into how you do it, do you offer it in your programmatic in an open environment, or is it all programmatic premium? How do you deal with all these levers, and what decisions do you guys make internally on that?
I think it's probably important to know what the options are for programmatic. A lot of the sessions earlier today were talking about programmatic guaranteed. That's one solution. In the middle, I would say, is biddable, auction, invite-based auction, and then on the other side would be open RTB. We do not operate in open RTB. That is not that's not something that we're really that interested in for tier one video. The majority of what we do today is in the biddable auction solution, and then we also do programmatic guarantee.
Okay, and advice for other broadcasters: there's a big sort of sea change where they are building the capabilities to sell in an automated fashion, but they're tending to do it themselves to have control of their inventory. So you could call that sort of a hedged garden, if you like, not exactly a walled garden.
Yep.
What do you recommend there? Do you think that's a good idea to do that, or do you think they should operate in more an open environment and offer their inventory to the industry to sell?
I think if you're talking about global and there's a lot of differentiation market by market. So it does depend by market. I would say in the U.S. where we operate, we work predominantly through SSPs, with the lead SSP that we work with today being Magnite. And we rely on the SSP predominantly for pipe connectivity. Right, so the SSP has the function of pipe connectivity into all DSPs, and it also helps drum up demand, and they have sales teams and they're evangelizing about things like CTV, et cetera. But our big reliance, and there's a lot of work that goes into the supply side connectivity into DSPs, but our inventory's in there. There are other premium video players and publishers that are in there as well. And I think one of the biggest benefits from a demand side platform and programmatic is the buyer does get an omni view, right? They get an omni view of supply, omni execution, and omni measurement and reporting on the back end.
I guess one of their principal concerns why they're building their own tech stack is to control the fees, the tech tax.
Yep.
Like, does that concern you? Like, how are you managing that?
Tech tax is a great topic, and I think it really depends on which side or how you're looking at it. Tech tax is real. I mean, I do think that there is a fair amount of. I think it's a bit high. I think there's a lot of pressure on the tax. And the tax is, there's a sell side tax and a demand side tax. And I think going forward that pressure is going to continue to force the programmatic tech players in the middle to provide better economics. If it wants to continue to scale and get more and more tier 1 video players comfortable with programmatic execution. I also hear the case where, on the speaking candidly on the agency side, where they say, "Oh, the tech tax, we're not going to pay that, and the suppliers need to pay that." And my answer to that is, well, then don't execute programmatically. I mean, there are economies of scale when you work programmatically. You get access to a lot more advertisers. You can streamline and execute campaigns in a much different fashion than you would with like a local, business to business sales team per se. And so the tech tax is embrace it because it's helping you scale and ramp. And if you don't embrace the tech tax, then don't execute programmatically. Stick to managed services. But I do think overall the tech tax needs to get solved and needs to come down. And I do think that'll be commensurate with the growth of the continued growth of programmatic overall.
All right. Well, let's go for some figures here. Do you know if a brand makes a buy, and how much is consumed by tech tax once they've purchased some inventory?
Well, I know what our tech tax is, and we're comfortable with that. I mean, I think there's probably a little room down the road for that to come down.
Okay.
I don't know because I'm not on the marketer side. Although Dish does a lot of programmatic marketing. For our brands at the company, and I think it's high.
Okay, you think it's high?
Yeah.
Where should it be? You're not going to tell me where it is, but where should it be?
I think it should be at least 50% lower than what I hear it is today.